of powerful actors.
Another researcher says a more specialized focus on the needs of female workers is also necessary.
Often being single mothers who have to leave their children with other relatives can really create immense emotional challenges. And women also face additional challenges of heightened risk of harassment and sexual violence.
Calva agrees.
That is certainly one of the greatest areas in which we need to continue to work. Women workers are going to have different necessities, different challenges than their male counterparts.
As Calva leaves her post in Leamington for another government position in Mexico City, she's positive the consulate will continue to prioritize mental health as a key issue. Calva has already left her post with the consulate, and it's not clear yet who will fill her seat. 6 of the 11 current members of Windsor City Council have so far registered for the upcoming municipal election. Kieran McKenzie today announced that he will seek re-election in Ward 9.
Folks consistently are looking for enhanced and increased services, and there's certain things that we can work on, public transit as a for example, that can have an immediate and direct economic impact to people who actually need those services the most. And certainly I'd like to see a greater recognition and understanding of the return on investment when we decide to enhance those services.
McKenzie was first elected to council in 2018. So far, only one candidate has registered in Ward 9, and that's Harinder Chima. The municipal election is October 24th. And as we mentioned, here are the current members of council who've announced they'll be running in the upcoming municipal election. Chris Holt is running for mayor, who is currently the Ward 4 councillor. Fabio Costante in Ward 2, Jeevan Gill in Ward 7, Gary Kashik in Ward 8, Kieran McKenzie in Ward 9, Jim Morrison in Ward 10. Nominations close August 19th. Windsor Regional Hospital is telling anyone who has been discharged from either of its campuses to self-monitor and self-isolate for 10 days. That's because there are multiple COVID-19 outbreaks at both Met and Olette. And they say 39 patients have tested positive. The majority are not experiencing any symptoms, and transmission has been limited to those sharing rooms. It's recommended that unvaccinated people do not visit units under outbreak, and everyone needs to wear a mask. Pope Francis is now wrapping up his 6-day trip to Canada, a visit he calls a penitential pilgrimage to the country. And after his historic apology to residential school survivors, many are wondering what actions will follow the words he delivered. Thomas Daigle has more.
At an audience with the Pope, prompted by the discovery of children's unmarked graves, 3 women carried cradle boards, a dramatic reminder of the childhoods lost to residential schools.
Our whole world is in this cradle board. And if we don't make it right, we have to make it right.
Before the Pope's arrival, the women were told to leave or sit in the back.
It was a state event in which our own leadership as Indigenous people was not heard. And while the cradle board was in the room, the Pope did not see it.
Church officials later saying there wasn't enough room for everyone, but again causing friction on a carefully choreographed trip that's drawn mixed reviews.
He was very humble, sincere. Yeah, I try to notice about him.
We've done our part, especially with the kind of energy and effort we put into this week, and now it's up to the church to do its part.
Canadian bishops say their response is coming soon, leaving many to wonder what, if any, concrete measures will follow. The Pope leaves Canada having delivered no apology on behalf of the Catholic Church itself. Instead, he promised a search for truth with no details. And the Vatican is said to be working on a statement about the doctrine of discovery that spurred colonization.
It's about ending the patterns of domination and dehumanization that the Vatican put into motion.
It's been 7 years since the Truth and Reconciliation Commission called on the Pope to come to this country and apologize, and centuries since the harms began. Some Indigenous leaders are still having to look to the future for answers about the past. Thomas Daigle, CBC News, Quebec City.
A Supreme Court ruling today addressed sexual assault and consent, saying when condom use is a condition of consent, sex without one can justify a sexual assault charge. In the original case, the complainant alleged 2 sex acts during the same encounter and that the second time her partner did not wear a condom as she demanded. The original trial ended in acquittal. Today's ruling was a 5-4 split, but all the justices agreed in ordering a new trial. A shelter in the Democratic Republic of Congo has been helping families for 12 years. It's in response to the war that has been going on for more than 2 decades. The Hope for St. Joseph shelter takes in young teens and children, along with young women who have been raped to help raise their children. The priest who founded the shelter worked for 8 years in Windsor, Amherstburg, and London. He's since returned to his home to help the community there, and it's something people here want to help support.
So this problem of the little girls and little boys seems to be something, well, some problem among others. So it gets sometimes forgotten. And that's why, first, we are really, really thankful for what they are doing. Second, I know because I have been working with them, I know it's hard to get the money they are sending us. And that's why when they send us money, we try really to do the best, not to spend it very easily.
I am most happy when I'm out here during the yard sale because I know we're helping the kids. And I've had the opportunity to speak to some of the kids on phone, and so I have an attachment to many of them. It's important that they have what they need to survive.
So that's what's great about it. They're not keeping none of it. It's all going to Africa, to help them with children. So that's great. It's by donation too. There's no prices on nothing. It's all by your donation. So yeah, it's great.
It's a lot of hard work and they're doing a lot of good things. So yeah, I don't mind at all. It's a win-win.
We can't do it alone. The need is very strong. We need everybody's help. We need support. We need help, and we appreciate any help we get.
The situation isn't improving in the Democratic Republic of Congo. More are expected to seek help at the shelter. And the yard sale that you saw there is running until Sunday, and it's raising funds for that shelter. So far, they've raised about $10,000, but they're hoping to raise much more. And if you or someone you know needs support, you can reach the Sexual Assault Crisis Center of Essex County at 519-253-9667. And that crisis line is available 24/7. Let's turn now to a collision on Riverside Drive West and Bruce Avenue, which stopped traffic in one direction earlier today. Westbound traffic had to detour as a traffic light was downed by that collision. No word on whether anyone was injured, but the scene has since been cleared. Let's turn now to lighter and sweeter news. 'Tis the season for Ontario watermelons. Growers in southwestern Ontario have just started harvesting the fruit, and CBC's Jennifer LaGrassa joined a local farmer on one of his first gathers of the year. And she finds out what tips you need to know to pick one that's just ripe.
And this is all watermelon.
Dave Dyke grows watermelons in southwestern Ontario, the only spot in the province that the desert plant thrives in. Surveying the field, it looks like there are no watermelons, but on a closer look, there are dozens, and they're just starting to get ripe.
Well, it is a decent crop this year, I do believe. We just started getting into them, but I think there's quite a few of them in the patch, so quite pleased with them.
Dyke's been a Leamington watermelon grower for more than 20 years. This year, he has about 25,000 watermelon and bushmelon crops planted. He's one of about a dozen farmers locally that take on the challenge.
It's a bit of a niche market. Watermelons are very challenging to grow this side of the border. I mean, really, it's easy to say we have no business growing them here in Ontario.
Some issues with the expensive crop include the high cost of production, from growing the seed to preparing the field, labor and storage, since the fruit can get so big, and the climate. It needs to be dry and hot, even overnight. But the plants also need a lot of water. Few other provinces grow the crop, including British Columbia and Manitoba, but the majority of growers are concentrated in Ontario. The Ontario Fruit and Vegetable Growers Association estimates there's about 809 hectares of watermelons grown in southwestern Ontario. Some of the growers ship across the province, Canada, and even into the United States. Dyke is a smaller grower, so he keeps his produce local.
As soon as you bring them out, the people, the small kids come to the stand and they say, "Oh, watermelon, watermelon." There is no other thing that they're after as much as watermelons.
And half the fun is watching people pick the one they think is just right. It's a song and dance Dyke is familiar with, but here's his expert advice to getting one that's sweet and ripe inside.
You want to see that dark yellow on the bottom where it laid on the ground. If that's kind of going into green, that means it's not good. And what I go by, if you can hear that kind of hollow sound, that means that is a solid face watermelon.
So I followed Dyke's tips when picking a watermelon. It's got the yellow patch, it's pretty heavy, and a good knocker. So let's see how this one is. That's a pretty good watermelon. Jennifer LaGrassa, CBC News, Leamington.
A new program on Your TV hopes to show better representation on local television. Its 3 hosts are going to talk about issues in the Black, African, and Caribbean community and highlight Black businesses and artists in the city.
It's Angelina Beggs,
Moya McAllister,
Irene Moore Davis.
And you're all hosts of
Talking Real Melanin. So I chatted with these 2 ladies and said, what do you guys think about, coming up with a show idea?
Yeah.
And we just did some brainstorming on what that could look like. And it kind of went from there. And we pitched the idea to Your TV, and they called us a few months ago to say, yeah, let's do it.
So what kind of prep work has gone into pitching a show?
A lot of brainstorming. Just thinking about some of the subjects that were dear to our heart, things that maybe we've always wanted to say but maybe never had the forum to say, and then taking those same ideas, bouncing it off each other, getting perspectives, and then just coming up with show titles.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I would say that the way that we've scheduled these episodes, we're always going to try to include a spotlight on a local business that's Black owned. We try to highlight or spotlight the arts, great people of African, Black, Caribbean descent in our community who are performing artists. And there's always at least one topic of conversation, a hot button topic, not necessarily tied to immediate current events, but things that matter, topics that matter to people of Black, African, Caribbean descent, and that we hope that other members of the community will care about and learn about as well.
I would say for me personally, I'm so happy that, we're able to represent a different side that maybe people are not necessarily privy to all the time. I feel like representation matters, and it's been time that Windsor has something that is about the things that we think about, the things that we feel, the issues, some challenges, and also a lot of the triumphs that we do have in this community.
I think people will hear perspectives that perhaps they've not heard before, have not heard locally before. We talk about with our guests and among ourselves questions that concern people of Black, African, Caribbean descent all the time that may not be on the radar of other folks, but we certainly want to share that information. So we have discussions like, what is equity, diversity, and inclusion, and what does it all mean? And does EDI training actually work, and what does it need to work? We talk about things like what not to say to Black people.
That's a good one. We talk about Black hair, and our own personal journeys through, all the different changes we've had and the different settings and experiences we've had, whether or not with our hair in the workplace and just with our hair from youth to adulthood.
We talk about travel, we talk about a village and how important that is to the Black community. Is it something that we need to look back at and see that that formal model that we had is something that maybe we need to continue, or finding out if you are that person who was the elder in the community, how do you keep the village alive after you're gone? You know, these are things that are very important to our community. So I hope that people get something out of it, because it's not just for Black people, it's for people who interact, have friends, work with, just a teachable moment for the whole community at large.
Talkin' Real Melanin will debut in the fall. Let's take a live look outside there. When we come back, we've got a beautiful looking forecast for you. It's really promising to be a gorgeous long weekend. Dahlia Ashtree will be here right after the break with that. Stay with us. Dahlia Ashtree is here now for a look at our weather forecast. Dahlia, all week long, we've been telling everybody it's going to be a beautiful weekend. So my question to you is, does that messaging stick?
It sure does. And you know what? It's shorts weather, Katarina. It's that time to pull out your shorts, pull out the sunscreen, because you're going to need it this weekend. And you're going to need your water bottles. You're going to need to stay hydrated. But there is a chance of showers. So after all that heat, there will be a bit of a cool down. So the current temperatures right now in Windsor, 26 degrees. Chatham, Kansas, Kent 25, Sarnia at 26. So overall, it's a pretty hot day. Windsor with that humid X, it feels like 29, and Sarnia is 29, Chatham-Kent is 29 as well. Now, taking a look at the map right now, what do we have here? Well, the clouds are going away, looking pretty clear overall. That's how you get that sunshine into Saturday morning. So if you're planning on heading out to Cottage Town, well, you're going to see that sunshine on your drive there. It'll be nice and hot and warm, so make sure you bring some water bottles in with you, stay cool. Now, as we head into Monday, 8 a.m., you start to see a little bit of cloud coverage peeking through and maybe a chance of precipitation. 30% chance or so. Overnight tonight, things start to cool down, which we could all use a little bit of a cool down at night. Maybe a good chance to do a bonfire. Windsor 15 degrees, Leamington 15 degrees, Sarnia 14, and London 13. Now let's take a look at your 5-day forecast. So Saturday, tomorrow, it's going to be 28 degrees. With that humid X, it's going to feel like 32. It's a great chance to head outdoors. Sunday, 31. Monday, 31. Tuesday is when you have that chance of precipitation, about 40% chance, but it's still pretty hot. So it's probably going to be a hot and muggy day on Tuesday for the most part. Wednesday, 35 degrees. So as you can see, there is a trend here. It's increasing the temperature. It's getting more hot, but still a great time to be outdoors. Katarina?
Thank you so much. And the runner in me is looking at that 35 and I'm dreading it and I'm hoping it'll come down. Hopefully that bit of rain will bring that down a little bit for me.
I told you, bring that water bottle with you and your sunscreen, Katarina, because you're going to need it.
Exactly. Thanks for that, Dahlia.
Thanks. Take care.
When we come back, it is International Tiger Day. Stay with us.
Gem.
Welcome back. The federal government has released a price list for its proposed mandatory gun buyback program. The initiative covers more than 1,500 models and variants of what Ottawa considers assault-style firearms banned 2 years ago in the wake of the Nova Scotia shooting. That includes $1,300 for the AR-15 rifle, the weapon used in multiple mass shootings in the United States. Before finalizing the program, the government is looking for input from gun owners and distributors between now and the end of next month. An amnesty is in place until October 30th of next year to protect lawful owners of banned guns from criminal liability while they take steps to comply with the law. Canada's economy stayed essentially unchanged in May. Some are seeing that as a better outcome than the contraction economists were expecting. Statistics Canada says the real GDP stayed flat in May after a 0.3% expansion in April. The slight uptick in the service sector was offset by a decline in goods-producing industries. Along with supply issues and rising interest rates, a lot of businesses are also facing labor shortages. Canada fared better during the same period than the U.S., which saw its economy shrink for 2 quarters in a row, an informal indicator of recession. And some cool cats are feeling the love in India. People there are gathering at zoos to celebrate International Tiger Day. The country is home to most of the world's remaining wild tigers, and they come in many sizes and colors.
And right now also we are having 6 white tigers along with one young white tiger which is being reared. So we hope that we'll be able to maintain a good stock of all kinds of tigers.
The Bengal tiger is the country's national animal, but the species is vulnerable to poaching and illegal trade. India's rapidly growing human population is also making it challenging to protect their natural habitat. International Tiger Day is meant to create awareness and support for tiger conservation. About 4,000 tigers remain in the wild, but their population has been declining, especially in Southeast Asia. That is it for CBC Windsor News. For news anytime, go to our website, cbc.ca/Windsor. Thanks so much for watching, and have a great night and a wonderful long weekend.